Good morning, students. So, how are all of you guys? So, students, we have already done chapter 1, that is nature, objective, and scope of audit. And today we are going to start a new chapter, audit strategy, audit planning, and audit program. So, as I have been telling you, students, that this chapter, audit strategy, audit planning, and audit program, is largely based upon Essay 300. It is drawn from Essay 300. Okay. So what is the name of this essay? What is the name of this standard on auditing? The name of this standard on auditing is Planning and Audit of Financial Statements. Planning and Audit of Financial Statements. Okay. So as the name suggests, students, this chapter deals with the planning, how to plan an audit. So we shall be studying about all the aspects of planning and audit in detail in this chapter. Okay, and students, we shall interact during the session, but all your queries I will be taking later on at the end of session. In last 10 minutes I will be devoting separate time for resolving your queries. Meanwhile we will be interacting. You please send your mails, but we will take all your queries at the end of session, because sometimes it so happens that queries of some students are not answered. So therefore, all the queries would be taken at the end of session. So I am repeating it. So don't worry. If you have any queries during the session, you please send. But all these queries will be taken up at the end of session. Okay. So I have kept separate 10 minutes for resolving your queries. Okay. Meanwhile, you continue sending your mails. That's fine enough. Is it clear, guys? Yes. So, guys, as per Essay 300, the objective of an auditor is to plan an audit so that it can be conducted effectively. So the word is effective. So the word is effective. So what is the meaning of word effective? Yes, students, I am again repeating. Those who have joined right now, please continue to send your queries. All these queries would be answered at the end of session in last 10 minutes. Okay, because in this way many students get disturbed. Okay, so that's fine enough. And many of you are also saying that please take queries after end, because their link is disturbed. So do not worry. I am again repeating it. If you have any queries, please continue to send, but I would answer all the queries at the end of session. Okay. So the objective of auditor, students, as per Essay 300, is to plan an audit so as to conduct it in an effective manner, in an effective way. So what is the meaning of effective here? Effective means, students, to achieve desired outcome. To achieve desired outcome. So what is the desired outcome of an audit of financial statements? Yes, guys. what is the desired outcome of the financial statements? We have read it in chapter 1. Yes, students, can you tell what is the desired outcome of audit of financial statements? So students, while studying auditing, you have to link up all the things. You have to link up all the things. Yes, yes, guys, anybody, if you can tell what is the desired outcome of audit of financial statements? Yes, students. Yes, guys. Yes. Now, desired outcome of audit is to express an opinion. Is to express an opinion through the medium of audit report. Okay, this much you know. So the objective of auditor in accordance with SA 300 is to plan an audit so as to conduct an effective audit so that desired outcome is achieved. Okay, so what was the basic intention of audit, that is fulfilled? Clear, students? So that is why planning and audit is very important. So students, जैसे आपको मालूम है, to do any work, proper planning is necessary. Say if you do not do proper planning, you would end up messing up the things. Okay, आप एग्जाम की भी तैयारी कर रहे हैं, अगर आप प्रॉपर प्लानिंग नहीं करेंगे तो आप एग्जाम में अच्छा परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाएंगे. सो सेम थिंग इज विद ऑडिट. ओके, so same thing is with the audit, that you have to plan the audit to achieve the desired results. You have to plan the audit to achieve the desired results. So students, this is a keyword here in this essay, so you have to remember this, that the objective of auditor in accordance with SA 300 is to plan the audit so as to conduct it in an effective manner. Okay, clear, sir? Clear, guys? Yes. Yes, clear, students? So all of you who are joining late, guys, again I am telling you, if you have any queries, continue to send. These will be taken up at the end. Okay. So what does your module say? Planning and audit of financial statements deals with auditor's responsibility to plan an audit of financial statements. It states that objective of auditor is to plan the audit so that it will be performed in an effective manner. So students, you have to understand this word, effective manner. This is keyword. You have to understand it, that what is the meaning of effective. So why planning and audit is necessary, guys? What are its benefits? Yes, so obviously planning and audit helps the auditor to devote attention to important areas. So if he plans properly, so he would be devoting his attention to important, to significant areas. He would not be merely devoting his attention to routine work. he can figure out which areas are important and where he has to conduct more of his procedures, where in which areas more testing is required, which areas are risk prone, where there could be chances of misstatements. Okay, so this helps him to devote attention to important areas of audit. Okay, and helps the auditor identify and resolve potential problems on timely basis. So this is also connected with it. So any problems which may come, so these can be resolved if he has planned the things properly. It also helps the auditor to organize and manage the audit engagement so that it is performed in an efficient manner. Effective तो है ही, उसके साथ efficient manner. Efficient means to do the work in not a short span of time, but in a proper span of time, so that one is doing it efficiently. Say you are preparing for your paper, and say normally average students devote say about 3 days for preparation of a chapter, and say you are taking 15 days, so you are not being efficient. Okay, assisting in selection of engagement team members with appropriate level of capabilities and competence, so that is very important. So before starting an audit, auditor would have to see who are going to be his team members. Say in case of large companies, he can't do the audit himself. A single person can't do. So he has to see who are going to be his team members from his staff. Okay, what are his capabilities and what that company is doing, what is the nature of business of that company, so that he can choose from among those persons who are having experience of say that industry, of that business. Okay, or who have conducted those kind of assignments. Okay, so next is facilitating the direction and supervision of engagement team members and review of their work. Facilitating the direction and supervision of engagement team members and review of their work. And sixth is assisting coordination of work. Now both of these things are important. So how the engagement team members would conduct themselves, what would be their timetable, how which locations they are going to visit. Okay, how if they find something unusual or if they find something wrong, how they are going to communicate, how they would coordinate with the engagement partner and other team members. Okay, so all these things help in planning the audit, and these are the benefits of planning an audit. Okay, so all little queries guys you are sending, all of these would be taken at the end of session. All of these would be taken at the end of session. You please continue to post your queries. All of these would be taken at the end of session in last 10 minutes. Okay, so the planning and audit ensures that audit risk is reduced to an acceptable low level. So students, this is very important. So this is probably a new term for you. You would be reading it in next chapter, chapter 3. So chapter 3 is devoted to this concept only, to the concept of audit risk. So we would be studying concept of audit risk there. For the time being, you can understand that audit risk is the chance that auditor gives an inappropriate opinion. Okay, say if financial statements are misstated, but he gives a clean chit to the company. So the chances of his expressing an inappropriate opinion is known as audit risk. You would be studying about it in detail in chapter 3, which we will be starting after completing this chapter. Okay, so how does planning help reduce audit risk? Because if you plan the things properly, then you are doing your job in a proper manner. You are carrying out the assignment, you are performing the procedures in a planned manner in accordance with the professional standards. Okay, so doing all the things step by step, doing all the things logically, it ultimately reduces the chances of anybody, of any auditor expressing an inappropriate opinion. So that is why we say that audit risk uh, is reduced by properly planning the auditor. Okay, so the auditor would reduce the audit risk to a low level by proper planning of auditor, by proper planning of audit. Clear, guys? सो स्टूडेंट्स, आपको प्लानिंग समझ में आ गया? एक बार मैं दोबारा आपको कर दूं, रिवाइज करवा दूं। प्लानिंग का मतलब है कि आपको ऑडिट स्टार्ट करने से पहले, एक्चुअल एग्जीक्यूशन वर्क करने से पहले उसको प्लान करना है। और प्लानिंग का पर्पस ये है कि आप ऑडिट को इफेक्टिवली कर सके। इफेक्टिवली का मतलब है, इफेक्टिवली मींस जो डिजायर्ड आउटकम ऑडिट का है वो अचीव हो जाए। डिजायर्ड आउटकम क्या है? टू एक्सप्रेस एप्रोप्रिएट ओपिनियन। सो अगर कोई ऑडिटर अपना ऑडिट प्रॉपरली प्लान करके चलेगा तो ऑब्वियसली वो एप्रोप्रिएट ओपिनियन एक्सप्रेस करने में he would be successful. Okay, so nature of audit planning, a continuous and iterative process. Students, now this is very important. So it is very important. So what is iterative, guys? The word used here is iterative. Iterative means repetitive. So iterative means repetitive. It is a continuous and repetitive process. So students, you have to understand planning in such a way, in such a manner that that it is not that once you have planned something then it is fixed. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Say if during the course of audit you some new information comes to your light, so accordingly you would be modifying your procedures. Okay, and say in case of companies, you know, the auditor is appointed under Companies Act. So the moment previous audit is completed and next year's audit starts, gaining inputs from the previous audit. Okay, so that is why we say that that planning of audit is a continuous and iterative process. It is a repetitive process. ओके से कंपनी का ऑडिटर 5 साल के लिए अपॉइंट हो रहा है, तो उसने एक बार प्लानिंग कर ली पहले साल में, तो ये नहीं है कि वो उस साल का ऑडिट खत्म हो गया तो आगे प्लान नहीं करेगा. इट इज ए कॉन्टिन्यूस रिपीटेटिव प्रोसेस. ही वुड गेन फ्रॉम द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ द प्रीवियस ऑडिट एंड he would perform his and he would plan for the next year accordingly. Clear, guys? So planning is not a discrete phase of an audit. Discrete means separate. It is not a separate phase of audit, rather a continual and iterative process. Continual, you understand, and iterative means repetitive. That often begins shortly after the completion of previous audit and continues until the completion of current audit engagement. Planning includes consideration of timing of certain activities and audit procedures that need to be completed prior to performance of further audit procedures. So students, planning includes planning about procedures. So this will be studying later on when we come to audit plans. But here you can understand that planning includes planning for procedures which are to be performed by auditor during the course of his audit. Say students, आप कोई ऑडिट प्लान कर रहे हैं तो आप उसमें ये प्लान करेंगे कि मेरे को इसमें क्या क्या इंस्पेक्ट करना है, मेरे को इसमें क्या क्या ऑब्जर्व करना है, कहाँ मेरे को किन किन लोगों से इंक्वायर करना है, कहाँ मेरे को किन किन अकाउंट बैलेंसेस में या किन आइटम्स के बारे में मेरे को एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन रिक्वेस्ट भेजनी है. इससे पहले आप ये भी प्लान करेंगे कि मेरे को ये देखना है कि कौन से ऐसे एरियाज हैं जो कि ज्यादा रिस्क प्रॉन है, जहां पे मिस स्टेटमेंट होने का ज्यादा चांसेस है, जहां पे मिस स्टेटमेंट होने का ज्यादा रिस्क है. तो उसको हम उन प्रोसीजर्स को हम रिस्क असेसमेंट प्रोसीजर्स कहते हैं. वो थोड़ी देर में हम अभी पढ़ेंगे. ओके, सो द प्लानिंग includes procedures, analytical procedures to be applied as risk assessment procedures, obtaining a understanding of the legal framework. से जो भी कंपनी है आप उसको देखेंगे कि क्या किस रेगुलेशन में यह काम करती है. Basic in common layman's language, you can understand that like you can say know about the company. So like in banks, there are norms relating to know your customer, KYC, you have heard. So similarly, you can say know about the company, what the company is all about, what is its nature of business, which laws are applicable to it. Like say if a company is operating in say finance sector, where it is in business of providing loans, so whether it is an NBFC, so special directions, special frameworks would be applicable to it. Okay, so determination of materiality. So planning also includes determination of materiality, कि क्या चीज कितना मेटेरियल, आई वुड सेट द मेटीरियलिटी लेवल. इसके बारे में भी स्टूडेंट्स आप डिटेल से एसए 320 में पढ़ेंगे. ओके, कि मेरा क्या चीज कितना लेवल मेरे लिए सिग्निफिकेंट है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स के लिए. ओके, इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स कि क्या मेरे को जो कंपनी का नेचर ऑफ बिजनेस है, वेदर इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स इज रिक्वायर्ड, whether the business of the company is of such a technical nature that I need the help of experts to understand its business, or to deal with some other aspects which can arise during the course of audit. So the performance of other risk assessment procedures. So this is again connected with the point one. So clear, guys? So again, I would summarize that you have to understand that planning is not a separate phase of audit. It is not a discrete phase. The word used is discrete. It is not a discrete phase. Rather, it is a continual and iterative process. It is a continuous and iterative process. The moment last year's audit is completed, then experience is gained from last year's audit, some things are carried forward and some new additions are made, and plans are modified. So in this way the planning happens. So you have also to remember that planning includes need to determine materiality, that what is significant, what is not significant, how the auditor is going to determine this. It also includes need to involve experts, like whether the company is in such a business that the auditor would be requiring help of experts in understanding some things. Okay, like for reading some contracts, he may be requiring some lawyers, because these may be very technical nature and may relate to some laws about which the auditor may not have some knowledge. Okay. And not the least, general understanding, obtaining general understanding of the company. This point is very important. Know your company. That first you have to gain knowledge about the company and about the regulatory framework under which it is functioning. Okay. And here the definition of risk assessment procedures is also given. So students, what are risk assessment procedures? As we have discussed just now, you would also be discussing about all these procedures in detail in chapter 3. So risk assessment procedures are audit procedures to obtain an understanding of the company, including its internal control, to identify and assess the risks of material misstatement. So that is very important. Whether due to fraud or error at the financial statement and assertion levels. So what is the difference between risk assessment procedures and other procedures? So risk assessment procedures, students, their basic purpose is to identify and assess risk of material misstatement. So the auditor, by performing those procedures, he first assesses that what are the chances that financial statements could be misstated. Now here at this stage, he has not performed any substantive procedure. Okay, he would be getting evidence by performing those procedures by performing actual testing, but risk assessment procedures help the auditor to identify and assess risk of material misstatement at the financial statement and assertion levels, whether due to errors or frauds. So assertion, students, what is assertion? Many of you are saying assertions you would also be reading in chapter 4, but I would explain the meaning of assertion to you while resolving your queries at the end of session. I would explain to you in brief. Okay. So planning includes, like we have discussed right now, that what is the legal framework under which the company is operating. Say for telecom companies, you have heard the name of TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authorities of India. So all these network operators, mobile service provided companies, there is regulator TRAI, and for banks, say regulator is RBI. So these are two examples given. So you have to understand what, under which broad framework that company, that industry is operating. Okay. And planning also includes need to consider determination of material or significant matters. This we have already done. That what are the significant matters, कौन से matters significant होंगे. Okay. So वो कैसे डिटरमिन होंगे, ये भी ऑडिटर प्लानिंग के टाइम डिटरमिन करेगा. और इसके लिए एक सेपरेट ऐसे है, ऐसे 320, जो कि मैं आपको स्टूडेंट्स बार बार बता रहा हूं, और आपके सब लोगों की क्वेरी सेशन के एंड में ली जाएगी. आई एम रिपीटिंग इट अगेन एंड अगेन. So this is written in box item, so you have to remember it. These are the key points. Planning is not a separate or distinct phase. Discrete. So students, remember these words, discrete. So exam में आपके पास इतना टाइम नहीं होगा सोचने का. So clear, you remember discrete, separate, distinct. These are all the same things. These are all synonyms. इन तीनों का एक ही मतलब है, discrete, distinct, separate. Discrete also means separate, distinct also means separate. So planning is not a distinct phase of an audit. It is to be viewed as a continual and repetitive process. So what was the synonym of repetitive? Iterative. Okay. So it is a continuous process that begins with the completion of previous audit and continues till completion of current audit engagement. Okay, guys. So while planning, students, the auditor has to take care of discussing, of involving his team members. जिन लोगों ने ऑडिट करना है, वो पूरी की पूरी टीम में जो एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर है, उसको उनके साथ सब चीजें ये डिस्कस करनी चाहिए. बिकॉज वाई? बिकॉज द ऑडिटर would be relying upon the work performed by his team members. So if the team members are kept in dark about something, or if the team members are not clear about the activities to be performed, about the desired outcomes, about the desired objectives, then how the result would be achieved, how the necessary result would be achieved. So therefore, involvement of key engagement team members in planning audit is very important. आपने एक टीम बना ली, एंगेजमेंट टीम बना ली 4 लोगों की. यू हैव prepared a team for conducting the audit. Now you have to discuss with them. Look, like this is the company, it is engaged in this kind of business, and these these kind of laws are applicable to it. It is this is the regulator, so we have to take care of all these things. And these you can also discuss that these are the probable areas, risk prone areas, where chances of material misstatement occurring are more, where there is greater probability of misstatements. So that the members of the team they also get a knowledge about it. Okay, and they can also provide their own inputs to you. So it should be a interactive process. Okay, so it should be a interactive process. So discussion of elements of planning with entities management. So students, you would be wondering that what is the need to discuss elements of planning with the company's management. अगर मैं ऑडिटर हूं तो मैं कंपनी की मैं अपने ऑडिट की प्लानिंग कंपनी के साथ डिस्कस क्यों करूंगा? कंपनी का तो ऑडिट होना है. लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड that auditor has to discuss those elements of planning, those things of planning which facilitate the conduct of audit, which makes the process of audit easier. Say you auditor cannot conduct audit of an entity, of an organization, without getting the necessary cooperation from that entity or from that organization or that company. So therefore auditor has to inform that organization, has to inform the entity, look, we shall be coming to your place by say, and we shall be doing such and such things, like we shall be observing your physical inventory counting process. We shall also be inspecting these kind of documents, so kindly provide us these documents beforehand, so that company is also prepared that what are the documents that you require as an auditor. So it doesn't mean that you have to tell the company all the details of planning. No, you have not to tell, but you have to tell only those things which ensure that the process of audit goes on smoothly, that it is facilitated. Okay, it is not that you go to the company's premises without informing them, say, and you do not find any responsible person there. Would it be proper? No. Okay, that is why. So this is also very important, that the auditor may decide to discuss elements of planning with entities management to facilitate the conduct of audit, to facilitate the conduct and management of audit engagement. However, while discussing these things, care is required not to compromise the effectiveness of audit. This is also very important कि आपको प्लानिंग के कुछ एलिमेंट्स तो डिस्कस करने हैं कि दैट आई वुड कम टू योर प्लेस एंड परफॉर्म सो एंड सो प्रोसीजर्स. यू हैव टू गिव देम ए ब्रॉड हिंट, लेकिन एक्चुअल में क्या आप करने जा रहे हो, एक्चुअल में उसकी डिटेलिंग क्या है। ओके, वो वो चीजें आपको नहीं बतानी है जिससे कि आपकी ऑडिट की आउटकम इफेक्ट हो, जिससे ऑडिट की इफेक्टिवनेस पे फर्क पड़े। क्लियर स्टूडेंट्स, इज दैट क्लियर? सो the auditor may discuss elements of planning with management to facilitate conduct of an audit, but he has to take care. Remember, he has to take care to see that audit strategy and audit plans effectiveness is not compromised. This is the basic thing. Effectiveness compromise नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि audit का students, the audit objective of audit in accordance with SA 300 is to conduct audit in an effective manner. तो आपको कोई ऐसा काम नहीं करना है जिससे कि ऑडिट की इफेक्टिवनेस पे फर्क पड़े। ओके, now students, now we come to planning process, elements of planning. Elements of planning. Now what are elements, guys? What are elements, guys? Elements mean constituents जिससे वो चीज बनी है। Elements means constituents. So it means what activities are to be included in planning process, what activities are included in planning process. So this we call as elements of planning. This we call as elements of planning. So elements of planning, you can also call it as constituents, you can also call components. So elements of planning, students, consists of two things. One is preliminary engagement activities. And another is planning activities itself. Now planning activities again consists of two parts. One is establishing overall audit strategy, and another is developing audit plan. So this diagram is visible to you, students. इसको आप अच्छी तरह देख लें and keep it in your mind. It is also in your module. So keep it in your mind, guys. Elements of planning. Elements, what does element mean? Element means components, constituents. So elements of planning refer to its components, that what things constitute planning, what things are to be included in planning, what activities are conducted in planning. Okay, so it has got two parts. One is preliminary engagement activities and other is planning activities itself. And planning activities again consists of two parts: establishing overall audit strategy and developing audit plan. Now we shall be learning about all these things one by one. What do we mean by preliminary engagement activities? What is meant by audit strategy? And what is meant by audit plan? So we would be discussing all these three things. Number one, what do we mean by preliminary engagement activities? What is the scope of these activities? What things are to be done in such kind of activities? And second is establishing overall audit strategy. Now, what is the meaning of audit strategy, and what factors are to be considered in establishing an overall audit strategy, and how an audit plan is developed? What things are included in developing an audit plan? Okay, what are the components of audit plan? What it should include and what it includes normally. So we'll be discussing these things. So preliminary engagement activities. So students, as the name suggests, preliminary means starting, initial. Preliminary का क्या मतलब होता है? Initial, starting. Like you must have read in the newspapers that a preliminary inquiry has been conducted. So what is preliminary? Initial, starting. So in the same way, there are preliminary engagement activities. Now what are these preliminary engagement activities? So you can break it as initial engagement activities. So engagement, you already know that you have been engaged by a client to audit the financial statements, and now he is giving you offer to accept that engagement. Obviously, when he would offer you, then only you would be sending engagement letter if you find everything right. Okay. So it includes following things. Number one, performing procedures regarding continuous of client relationship. Say students, you understand it this way. Say you are conducting audit of a company of say last 3 years. Now in 4th year, say you would also see that whether I should continue. In every year you would see that whether I would continue to accept the engagement, whether something unusual has happened, whether or not something unusual has happened in the company, which might require you to decline the engagement. It can happen. Okay, so whether the relationship between client and you should be continued, this is a part of preliminary engagement activities. Similarly, if suppose some new client comes to you, you are not known to him, so he offers you to conduct audit of his entities, audit of his organizations, audit of his companies. So what would be your first duty? Would you readily accept the offer? No, you have to conduct preliminary engagement activities. That includes knowing about the integrity of the promoters, integrity of the owners or the management. So kya students, it might so happen that the person who has approached you, the owners who have approached you, they might be fraudulent persons. They might be persons of doubtful integrity. Okay. So integrity means that they do not have honesty. They are involved in doing illegal acts. So you would say how it is possible to for an auditor to conduct such an activity? उसके पास तो कुछ नहीं है, कोई आदमी आया और उसने उसका ऑडिट एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, उसने उसकी ऑफर एक्सेप्ट कर ली। लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स इसके बारे में इसको आपको करना क्या है, एक चीज होती है डिलीजेंस। देयर इज ए थिंग डिलीजेंस। सो डिलीजेंस का मतलब होता है टू डू एवरीथिंग केयरफुली। सो ऑब्वियसली when some new person comes to you, then you would ask him that who has referred to you, how you have come, ठीक है, and you engage in a talk with him, क्या उसकी कंपनी है, क्या नेचर ऑफ बिजनेस है, क्या कैसे वो किन लोगों को जानता है। तो यू माइट नो फ्रॉम द मार्केट वेदर दिस पर्सन इज ऑफ गुड रिप्यूट और नॉट। तो इतना तो आपको यू नो यू आर अवेयर से अगर उसके यहाँ अभी वो ऐसा प्रमोटर है, उसके यहाँ सपोज किसी गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज की रेड हुई है, से in relation to some terror funding, then would you accept such an offer जिसके कि प्रमोटर के यहाँ, जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के प्रमोटर के यहाँ टेरर फंडिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एनफोर्समेंट अथॉरिटीज की रेड हुई है, क्या आप स्टूडेंट्स उसका ऑडिट एक्सेप्ट करेंगे? सो these are the जनरल थिंग्स कि प्रमोटर्स की, ऑनर्स की इंटीग्रिटी कैसी है, और जो की मैनेजमेंट पर्सन हैं, द पर्सन हु आर रनिंग द शो, द पर्सन हु आर रनिंग द कंपनी, क्या उसके बारे में कोई पब्लिक डोमेन में कुछ ऐसी चीज है जो कि पता चल सकती है कि दे आर रेगुलर वॉयलेटर्स ऑफ लॉ? सपोज इन केस ऑफ लिस्टेड कंपनीज देयर आर सर्टेन प्रमोटर्स which have been blacklisted by regulators. ओके और क्या जो प्रीवियस ऑडिट है, अगर सपोज कोई नया आदमी आपके पास आ रहा है, पहले ऑडिट किसी और के पास था, तो प्रीवियस ऑडिट का क्या एक्सपीरियंस था, क्या उसकी वजह से उसने कुछ ऑब्जर्वेशन गलत दी और उस पॉइंट को छोड़ के तो वो आपके पास नहीं आ रहा। इसीलिए स्टूडेंट्स, when an auditor accepts a fresh engagement, there is a fresh audit of a company, there are provisions in Companies Act, and there are provisions in ethics, in code of ethics, which you would be studying in your final exams, that you have to communicate with the previous auditor, so that you come to know that there may exist some professional reasons for you not to accept the assignment. So what is the purpose of this communication? So what is the purpose of this communication? The purpose of communication is to help you know the reasons to know the existence of any such professional reasons which may prompt you to decline the engagement. Okay, so students, remember, yes, network is proper. There might be some problem at your end. Anyway, I am asking the technical persons to see that network is proper. So Manish, see that video is proper. Yes, it is proper. Yes, guys. So students, remember that these preliminary engagement activities, these are to be carried out, these are to be performed, whether it is a new client or whether it is an existing client, in both the cases. So in both the cases, these have to be performed, whether it is an existing client or whether it is a new client. These are not restricted to new client alone. In case of existing clients, you would have to see that whether the relationship needs to be continued, whether some change in the, say, management has taken place during the year, or whether, say, the company has uh, gone into some new field of business. Okay, so whether you should continue with that client, keeping in view all those circumstances. And in case of new client, as I have already explained, you have to check about the integrity of principal owners. Now you need not have to conduct a detailed investigation sort of thing. This is what that you have to exercise your due diligence. You have to do the things carefully, not rashly, in a hurried or in a negligent manner. You apply your mind and you arrive at a conclusion that whether you need to accept uh, this assignment or not. Okay, and you would also consider competence of engagement team to perform the audit engagement. So this is also part of the preliminary engagement activities. Say the students, the company is operating in some specialized area. Say it is a say it is in fintech sector. Okay, so fintech sector companies are those companies which are providing financial solutions using technology, relying upon technology. Okay, so but you do not have that kind of stuff, or you yourself have never conducted audit of such a company. So then you would have to think that how this engagement would be conducted, how this engagement would be performed, and uh, and whether you would be in a position uh, to give an appropriate opinion, whether you would be able to perform the audit in an effective manner. So all these things would be considered by you. So one part is this: continuous of client relationships, or in case of fresh clients, whether that relationship should be accepted or not. Okay, and number two, evaluating compliance with ethical requirements including independence. So स्टूडेंट्स, मैंने आपको स्टार्टिंग में ही बताया था हमारे सब्जेक्ट का नाम क्या है, ऑडिटिंग एंड एथिक्स. So you have to perform audit ethically. Ethically means you you would be reading about ethics, a little bit about ethics as part of this syllabus at intermediate level. But you can understand that you have to perform audit in accordance with certain ethical principles, which are not wrong. Okay, like say you have to be honest with your client. You need not sign false documents. You should never sign false documents. You should never uh, keep your name associated with false certificates, false returns, false reports. Okay, so similarly, the auditor has always to remain independent. He should not act at the directions of other person. So therefore, before accepting engagement, the auditor would see that whether he is independent of the entity. Okay, like whether there are some threats to his independence, whether there are some factors which are affecting his independence, by which he might be influenced, or his opinion might be influenced, or somebody could raise a question about his independence. So all these things would be considered by him. Not only him, not only the auditor, but his team member also, who are going to perform the audit. He would have to see whether they are also, their independence is also not affected. Suppose आपकी टीम में कोई एक ऐसा आदमी है जो जिस कंपनी का पहले ऑडिट कर रहे थे वहीं पे एम्प्लॉय था. ओके, सो व्हाट वुड यू थिंक अबाउट हिम? Okay, so he might not be a truly independent person. So independence, again, students, independence has to be determined depending upon the individual circumstances of the case. It is not a closed straitjacket concept. It has to be determined on case to case basis. Okay. So compliance with ethical requirements, including independence. So the engagement partner shall obtain relevant information from the firm to identify any circumstances that create threats to independence. So he would make a due diligence on himself, on his team. Fine. So he would make a due diligence on his all of team members to see whether there exist some threats to independence. क्या independence auditor की खतरे में है? Whether it is in danger. Simple understand in layman's language. Whether it is in danger. If it is in danger, then he would evaluate that these are the things, these are the possible breaches. Okay, these are the identified breaches on firm's independence, and these constitute threat to independence. So what would happen? So like, then either he can eliminate those threats to an appropriate level, or to withdraw from the engagement. Okay, so if he gets to know about threats to his independence, so there are two options are available to him. Either he should adopt some safeguards so as to eliminate the threats, or to reduce the threats to an adequate level, or to withdraw, or to say that I would not be able to conduct audit because why? Because I am not independent in this assignment. Okay, is that clear? Say if somebody is holding shares in a company, okay, and he also gets offered to accept audit of the company, so there is a independent threat that he is holding shares of the company. So either he can sell those shares, either he can offload those shares and then accept the engagement. Then what happens? The threat is eliminated. So this is the meaning of the threat. So threat is eliminated and then he can accept, or otherwise he should refuse or withdraw from the engagement. So clear, guys? And third point is establishing understanding of terms of engagement. Now that is very important, guys. कि जो स्टूडेंट्स टर्म्स ऑफ एंगेजमेंट है, जिस बेसिस पे ऑडिट होगा, ऑडिट का क्या स्कोप है, मैनेजमेंट की क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज है, these there should be a understanding between the auditor and the client in this respect, between the auditor and between the client in this respect. Clear, students? से अगर इस बारे में क्लाइंट और ऑडिटर के बीच में अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है, सो व्हाट वुड हैपन? देयर वुड बी डिस्प्यूट्स, there would be disputes. So that is why that what are the terms that this the auditor is supposed to do, this report he would give, and what the management responsibilities are. They would provide him all the information, they would provide him books of accounts, they would let him make see from all the employees. So all these things constitute a sort of understanding of terms of engagement. These are all contents of an engagement letter. That is why we say that an engagement letter is necessary. Why? Because it shows that an understanding regarding the terms of engagement was achieved in a formal manner. कि ये सिर्फ वर्बल बात नहीं है, मौखिक बात नहीं है. The two parties, they have agreed, they have understood on the scope, on the terms, that what the auditor is supposed to do and what are the management's responsibilities. That is also very important. So because students, many unscrupulous management persons, they may mislead you. So Gaurav, you are saying voice is lagging. There might be some connectivity issue at your end. So obviously it would get right in a few seconds. Even if there is some issue, it would get right. So students, am I audible now? Yes, students, am I audible now? So I would again repeat it, students. Preliminary engagement activity consists of these three broad points. Number one is performing procedures regarding continuance of client relationship. Yes, Manish, please check. Voice is lagging. Okay. So preliminary engagement activities include three things: performing procedures regarding continuance of client relationship. Now, this we have discussed in great detail. Now, whether the relationship with client should be continued or not, this is part of preliminary engagement activities. And number two is compliance with ethical requirements, including independence. So the auditor, he would have to see whether there is compliance with ethical requirements, including independence, and if there are any threats to independence, if there are any breaches to independence, then these should either be eliminated or the auditor should withdraw. Okay, so this is very important part, students. This is very important part, that auditor has to see that there should not be any threats to his independence, and this is part of preliminary engagement activities, basic fundamental thing which he has to do, because the whole concept of audit is standing on the pillar of independence. We had also read in the meaning of audit that it is an independent examination of financial information of an entity. So the pillar of independence is there. It is on the pillar of this independence that the auditor uh, is giving his opinion. And number three is establishing an understanding of terms of engagement with the client to ensure that there are no misunderstandings. So these three things, students, are students, are included in preliminary engagement activities. So remember the word preliminary engagement activities. It is an element of planning. It is an element of planning. And what does preliminary engagement activities include? It includes, again, at the cost of repeating it, I am saying it again, so that these are remembered by you in this class itself, so that when you read from your module, it becomes very easy for you. So one is performing procedures regarding acceptance, regarding continuous of client relationships. Number two, evaluating compliance with ethical requirements, including independence. Number three, establishing an understanding on terms of engagement. This is also very important. Clear, guys? So I hope preliminary engagement activities is clear to you. Now we come to planning activities. So we had learned, students, that planning activities include two things. One is audit strategy, and one is audit plan. So establishing planning activities involve establishing overall audit strategy and developing an audit plan. अब preliminary engagement activities हो गई. Now we come to establishing an overall strategy. Now, what is strategy, students? What is audit strategy? What is the meaning of strategy? Yes, leave about audit. What is the meaning of strategy? Yes, guys. Can you tell what is the meaning of strategy? Yes, anybody? Yes, guys. Waiting for your responses. Yes, but strategy is the different from planning. So strategy, students, to achieve to achieve some objectives. So strategy is broader than plan. You can say plan is more detailed, while strategy sets out a broad direction. So strategy word has been taken from is often used in military language. So nowadays it is quite often used in every other thing. So initially the word was used in military. So strategy means to plan, to prepare a blueprint of something, rather to prepare a blueprint of something. rather अगर इसको मैं हिंदी में बोलूं तो एक खाका खींच लेना, to which gives direction and which fixes the direction and scope of the things, and it places the things in proper perspective. Nowadays we often hear the term political strategy. So there is military strategy, diplomatic strategy. Okay. So to prepare a blueprint, mapping. Yes, blueprint. So establishing overall audit strategy. Yes, guys, you keep on sending your mails and keep on sending responses in this at this mail only in which you are sending queries. There is no other communication method by which we can communicate. Yes, Gaurav, you are right that like you are preparing strategy for your exams. Yes, good. That's good. So overall audit strategy sets the scope, timing and direction of audit. Now students, remember these are the three keywords. You have to remember them, not only understand them, you have to remember them, students. So prepare an acronym for it, like say remember it as STD. So whenever you say audit strategy, remember it as STD, scope, timing and direction of audit. Scope, timing and direction of audit. So it would be a it would be easy for you to remember, and it would increase your recall value in your exams. So not only these things, for other things you can also prepare these sort of acronyms for certain important things. Say if you have to write about this, and sometimes it happens that one of the words you forget. Now this is the keyword, this is the word which is required in the exam. So how do I remember this? What should I do? I would prepare an acronym. So there are less chances that I would forget STD, and there are more chances that I may skip from scope, timing, and direction. I may skip one word. So both all these three words are important and are required to be written in the exam on issues pertaining to this topic. So what is audit strategy? Audit strategy sets the scope, timing, and direction of audit and guides the development of more detailed audit plan. And guides the development of more detailed audit plan. So एक आपने ब्लूप्रिंट बना लिया, ब्लूप्रिंट के अकॉर्डिंग आपकी प्लान बनेगी, लेकिन जो ब्लूप्रिंट बना वो आपकी स्ट्रेटेजी है. उसने क्या सेट किया? इट हैज सेट थ्री थिंग्स: स्कोप, टाइमिंग एंड डायरेक्शन. स्कोप की व्हाट इज द ब्रॉड स्कोप? से कंपनी पे कौन कौन से लॉज एप्लीकेबल है, कंपनी कौन से बिजनेस में, कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रही है, दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स. टाइमिंग, कंपनी की ऑडिट करने का टाइम क्या है, उससे पहले सपोज इन केस ऑफ कंपनी accounts are to be adopted at AGM, so obviously audit has to be completed well in advance before the notice of AGM is given, so that these can be put at the AGM, so for approval by the shareholders. So scope, timing, and direction, that what direction it is to take. Okay, like say whether some expert would be required, and these kind of things, some of which we would be discussing right now. So how an audit strategy is helpful? So the audit strategy is helpful for the auditor to deploy resources for specific audit areas. So अगर आपने स्टूडेंट स्ट्रेटेजी पहले बना ली है, so you can ask your team members to you can deploy your team members to more risk prone areas. से आप जो एक्सपीरियंस लोग हैं उसको आप ज्यादा रिस्क प्रॉन एरिया पे लगा सकते हो, जो फ्रेशर्स लोग हैं, जो अभी से स्टूडेंट्स हैं, ओके, या जो फ्रेश जिन्होंने आर्टिकल्स ज्वाइन किया है उसको आप रूटीन चेकिंग में लगा सकते हो. क्या और कितने रिसोर्सेज चाहिए आपको, क्या एक्सपर्ट की इन्वॉल्वमेंट चाहिए कॉम्प्लेक्स मैटर्स के लिए. एंड amount of resources, amount means number. Say अब किसी you are conducting audit of a company, it has got say 20 locations all over the country, it has got 20 locations. Okay, so at all the 20 locations stocks are lying, stocks of the company are kept. So what you would determine beforehand that there are 20 locations of the company and I would be needing so much of staff to observe their physical counting process. Okay, clear students? Or you would also see that whether the company is a standalone company or whether it has got some subsidiaries also. If it has got some subsidiaries, then obviously consolidated financial statements would have to be prepared. Then how much time would be needed? More persons would be needed, more resources would be needed. And when these resources would be deployed. It means, students, we have learned that after completion of previous year audit, the next year's audit begins immediately. Planning for it begins immediately. It is not that after the completion of financial year, the audit starts. The auditor can start planning and doing some procedures during the course of year. So whether he would be performing some procedures after the financial year comes to an end, or during the year itself at an interim date, say as on 31st December, at the end of a quarter. Okay, so these kind of things. And how the staff, how the audit team members, how he would brief the audit team members, and how the team members would debrief him, meaning how they would give feedback to him, how meetings would be conducted, how they would communicate. Okay, whether they would be giving the inputs through the mails, or whether discussions would be held at the premises of company or in the office of auditor. So these kind of things. So therefore, the process of establishing audit strategy helps the auditor in deciding about these matters. It is helpful to the auditor in deciding about all of these matters. So that is why we say that setting an audit strategy which fixes the scope, timing, and direction of audit is helpful. So audit strategy, always remember, is concerned with scope, timing, and direction of audit. Audit strategy is concerned with scope, timing, and direction of audit. Remember these words. Okay. Now, factors to be taken into consideration by auditor for establishing audit strategy. Factors to be taken into consideration by auditor for establishing audit strategy. Now, what factors are to be taken into consideration by auditor for establishing audit strategy? Now, what does this mean? These students, this means that these are the things. Now, what we are going to read, these are the things which the auditor has to keep in his mind while establishing an audit strategy. Now, while devising an audit strategy for an audit of financial statements, the auditor would have to keep these things in his mind. These are the some of the factors, examples of the some of the factors given here. Okay. Number one, it is identifying the characteristics of the engagement. So this I've been telling you, that which financial reporting framework is applicable, what are the, say a company may be engaged in 4 or 5 different kinds of activities. So whether some specialized knowledge is required for say some of those activities, whether there are any regulatory requirements for the auditor, whether there are any regulatory requirements which have been specified by the industry regulator, like say Reserve Bank of India, or any other regulator like say TRI. Okay. Expected use of audit evidence obtained in previous audits. Now, how the evidence obtained in previous audits, whether it is relevant or not. in the current period audit. This has also to be seen. Whether it is relevant or not, whether it is also to be seen. Ascertaining the reporting objectives of engagement. That what is the timetable for reporting? Like in case of companies, I have been telling you, accounts have to be approved at the AGM. So balance sheet has to be signed well before the date of AGM, well before giving the notice of AGM. So in case of other entities, what are the law requirements? What is the requirement of persons who have appointed you to conduct audit? So like say in case of non-corporate entities, the audit may be conducted under income tax law. Then what is the date by which audit report has to be furnished to the income tax authorities? So audit has to be completed well before that date. So these kind of things. Organization of meetings to discuss nature, timing, and extent of audit work with the management. So say I need some information from management, then to whom I would communicate? There must be some responsible person. So who would provide me all the information? Or if there are some my queries relating to work, then who would resolve those queries? So all those things would be decided beforehand. Discussion with management regarding expected type and timing of reports. It is related to first point. Discussion with management regarding expected communication on status of audit work. This is again related to second point. So basically all these points mean that while establishing an audit strategy, the auditor would see that how he is going to communicate and in what time frame his work is to be completed, what are the statutory timelines in which work has to be completed, keeping in view the fact, keeping in view the laws applicable to that very organization or to that very company, and how he should raise his points with the management. Okay, how he should communicate with the management, because communication is very important during the course of audit. Now say the auditor identifies certain misstatements, then obviously he has to bring it to the knowledge of the management. He has to bring it to the knowledge of those charged with the governance, so that appropriate action can be taken. Is besides that, the auditor would also see that वॉल्यूम ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शन उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कंपनी में कितना है. से कितनी ट्रांजेक्शन एक दिन में हो रही है? 2000, 2000, 5000, 500, 100. हाउ मेनी वोचर्स आर देयर? ओके, हाउ मेनी से transactions are taking place every day, so that accordingly he can determine the strength of his staff, okay, and time required to complete the audit, and it also helps him to see that if the transactions are very voluminous and he has decided to adopt a sample checking approach, then whether it would be good for him to rely upon the internal controls. If the internal controls are operating effectively, then he would be able to rely. Significant industry developments, like there might have been some changes in the industry itself or in the laws applicable to those specific industries. So these kind of things, or there might have been changes in financial reporting framework. So you might remember that there have been changes in Schedule 3 in last few years. Significant changes. So all so in context of a company, it would be significant for the auditor. It would be useful for the auditor to keep in mind all those things. These are the factors which should be kept in his mind while determining audit strategy. And he would also see results of previous audits, and he would also sanitize his team members. He would prevail upon them that you have to remain always alert. You have to keep an attitude of questioning mind. You have to challenge uh, the management. You have to question them. If management says something, you do not have to accept those explanations blindly. Okay, because ultimately auditor has also to gather sufficient appropriate audit evidence, and therefore it is necessary for the auditor to maintain an attitude of questioning mind, of being alert always to the probable misstatements which might creep in the financial statements. And also, this is also similar to the points which we have discussed, that which team members he would select. Experienced team members may be assigned areas where there is more complex work, and where there are high chances of material misstatements, where there is high risk of material misstatement. Clear, guys? So we'll take a short break for 5 minutes, guys. So short break for 5 minutes. Break for 5 minutes. Yes, welcome back, guys. So, students, we have learned that once an audit strategy has been established, then it guides development of overall audit. It guides development of audit plan, which is more detailed. So, audit strategy has been established. It is established. The auditor has determined which factors are relevant in determining audit strategy. He has identified those factors, and accordingly he has established an audit strategy. Now comes the detailing part. Now this detailing part is dealt in audit plan. So students, again remember that not only for the audit plan but also for the audit strategy, you cannot plan properly unless you have sound knowledge of the understanding of the business of the organization, of the understanding of the nature of business of the company, of the entity. Okay, so that is very important. So know your company, know your entity is very, very important. So understanding client's business is also one of the foremost principles while developing an audit plan. जब तक आपको पता ही नहीं होगा स्टूडेंट्स कि कंपनी, व्हाट द कंपनी इज डूइंग, what is its nature of business, so from what kind of people it is purchasing the goods, who are its suppliers, and who are its buyers, and what is the product in which what are the lines of products in which that company deals in, then you would not be able to plan the audit. Leave out carrying out an effective audit. You would not be able to even plan the audit properly. Okay. So what does audit plan includes? Now students, remember audit plan includes these things. So audit plan includes basically students planned procedures. So in audit plan, the auditor plans procedures. He jots down, he writes that these procedures have been planned by him and these need to be carried out while actually doing the work, while actually performing the work. Clear, guys? So these procedures, first category is risk assessment procedures. We have already touched upon risk assessment procedures. These are specifically performed to identify risk of material misstatements. Okay, so their purpose is to identify risk of material misstatement, to identify areas where there is greater chance of misstatements happening. Okay, so these procedures, risk assessment procedures, are geared towards that. These risk assessment procedures are directed towards those things. Okay. Say like students, like I give you an example. Say you are you are going to perform the audit and you are planning for the same, and you have also uh, say financial statements of the company in the hand, and you see that there is a that say rent has been debited in the profit and loss account, say for some amount. And before you plan to perform other procedures like seeing bank statements or to whom the payment is made, okay, you also know that say this is the rent per square feet, this is the rate of rent per square feet, and this much is the area which has been rented out. So you can easily make back of the envelope calculation and arrive at the rent amount. Or if there is some difference, then you would see that this is a risk prone area, that while doing my other procedures I would have to see that why this difference is coming. So here what you are doing, you are planning, you are performing, you are planned risk assessment procedures. Okay, so you have planned certain risk assessment procedures which would be performed by you. So the purpose of risk assessment procedures is to identify and assess risk of material misstatements, whether due to frauds or due to errors. Okay, so before performing, obviously you would plan. So what you would see about these procedures, you would plan about nature, timing, and extent. So students, these are also the keywords. So while writing about procedures, while writing about audit plan, you would always use the words nature, timing, and extent. Whereas remember, in case of strategy, it was scope, timing, and direction. So as we move forward, as we go forward, also keep in mind what you have studied till now, and try to see what are the differences between the things which are now cropping up, so that you can remember. So these are the keywords to be written in your exam: nature, timing, and extent. So prepare an acronym NTE, you can prepare and you can remember likewise. And make it sure that when you are writing about audit strategy, use the words scope, timing, and direction. And when you are writing about procedures or audit plan, you would write nature, timing, and extent. Now these three words, students, nature, timing, and extent, would repeat again and again, many times, number of times in your module. Nature, timing, and extent. So there is no scope of making mistake in writing while writing in your papers. Okay. The nature, timing, and extent of planned further audit procedures. Now, what are further audit procedures? Say, students, the auditor not only performs risk assessment procedures, he also performs other procedures like say testing of controls. He tests the controls. Now these are also a kind of procedure. He performs substantive checking. These are known as substantive procedures. Like say if auditor is sending external confirmation request to a trade receivable, then it is a substantive procedure. Okay, it is an example of substantive procedure. So these what kind of substantive procedures are planned? These are to be included in audit plan. So obviously before performing, he would include all these things that these are type of risk assessment procedures he intends to perform. These are type of further audit procedures, or there might be some other procedures which may be required in accordance with standards on auditing. So all these procedures he would state in his plan. Okay, students. So the keyword is nature, timing, and extent. Again, students, I am repeating it. While writing about procedures, write nature, timing, and extent. If you use some other word, you would not get any credit in your paper. Simply, the examiner, he would simply make a cross and award a 0, because these are the keywords. We cannot make any changes to these words. Okay. And students, these are type of silly mistakes which students make while writing in their exams. And when they write the exam, they feel that they are heroes, but when the result comes, then they feel that they are on the ground, they are zeros, because, and they curse. And some of you might be cursing examination process and all these things, and that their evaluation has not been good. But the point is that we forget to find our own mistakes. We fail to realize that what is required to be written in paper, we do not write those things. So what does this term nature, time, and extent means? So one by one, every word we shall see. Nature means क्या type होगी उसकी, कौन से procedures होंगे. Like I had given you example of external confirmation. Similarly, their inquiry is also a procedure. Okay. Similarly, re-performance is also a procedure. So kya procedure, what type of procedure would be there? Timing. Timing means what timing would be there, whether it would be performed at the end of the financial year, or during some date, or at the end of a quarter. And extent means how much, क्या उसका, what would be the sample size, मेरा कितना साइज होगा उस पे जिसके पे भी मैं प्रोसीजर लगाऊंगा, ताकि so that I get sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So this is the meaning of nature, timing, and extent. And remember, students, in case of audit strategy, scope, timing, and direction. Now I sincerely hope that none of you is going to forget these words, these terms. So the audit plan is more detailed than audit strategy. Obviously, it is more detailed. So remember that these are also the finer things. Students, on every line there is a question. On every line which is written in your module, there is a question. So the audit plan is more detailed than the overall audit strategy. So planning for these audit procedures takes place over the course of audit plan as the engagement develops. Say students, we had learned that planning is a continuous process. Again, if something comes to the light of the knowledge, comes to light of auditor, comes to the knowledge of auditor, then he can modify his procedures. He can modify his plan. He can modify the procedures which were earlier planned to be undertaken by him. Okay, like here it is given as an example, कि say the auditor has performed, has planned about risk assessment procedures. Okay, but say, and he has also planned about further audit procedures. Say now, but after performing risk assessment procedures, he sees that his further audit procedures now require change. It doesn't mean that he cannot change what he had now, what he had earlier planned. He can definitely change, because after performing risk assessment procedure, something new, some information has come to his light which requires modification in planning of further audit procedures. So he would plan some further audit procedures keeping in view those circumstances. Clear, guys? So now look at this question. Yes, test your understanding one. Read this question, guys, and try to answer this without seeing from your module. Please do not see the answer. That's not a good habit. First, try to solve yourself, then reconcile your answer with the answer which is given in your module. MG and Company, a firm of auditors having a standing of 30 years, is appointed as a statutory auditor of a company engaged in manufacturing of defense equipment. The company is engaged in manufacturing of defense equipment. So the government has some time back opened up the defense sector for private players. Earlier, private companies were not allowed to manufacture in this sector, but now, since past few years, many new companies have come to manufacture defense equipment. So considering technical nature of operations, auditors recognize that involvement of experts is required. Auditor feels that involvement of expert is required. So whether कि expert लगाना है या नहीं लगाना, whether it falls in the area of planning, whether it falls in area of planning. Yes, students, tell me. Yes. Yes, students, any answers? Students, we had learned at the beginning that involvement of experts, consideration whether experts should be involved or not, is falls within the area of planning. आप सेकंड पेज देखेंगे तो उसमें लिखा हुआ है, इट इज रिटन देयर that planning includes consideration for determination of materiality, for involvement of experts. So students, while reading your modules, you have to remember every line, you have to read every line, you have to understand every line and to remember the key things. हर एक लाइन पे मॉड्यूल की स्टूडेंट्स क्वेश्चन बनता है. क्वेश्चंस ये एग्जाम में रिपीट बहुत कम होते हैं स्टूडेंट्स. रिमेंबर दिस. ऑलवेज सम न्यू क्वेश्चंस आर देयर. Always there are new questions. The number of questions which are coming for the first time, their proportion is quite high. Okay. Now test your understanding number 2. CA Karthik is planning for audit of a company engaged in manufacturing of cosmetics. ठीक है, एक कंपनी है वो कॉस्मेटिक्स बना रही है. और उसका there is a CA who is the auditor, who is planning for the audit. So he had planned to include testing of controls of company over purchase, sales and inventories. तो जो कंपनी ने अपना सिस्टम बनाया हुआ है परचेज सेल्स का, उसके कंट्रोल्स he had planned to test. So one fine day he reaches the corporate office and asks for manuals and required documentation to ensure surprise element in testing. He had never shared with the management his intention to carry out above procedures. So the question is saying that he had never told management that he wants to test. He had never told them that these procedures are going to be performed. Is this approach proper? So students, tell me how you would relate this concept. Yes. Yes, students, tell me how you would relate this concept. Yes, students, and also find out reason. You have to give logical reason. You have to give logical reason of why it is not so. Yes, Divya Kumari Kadambari, you are right. That approach of audit is not, auditor is not proper. That is okay. Yes, he should inform the management because otherwise the process of audit would not be facilitated. Suppose the responsible persons are not there on the day he goes out there for testing controls, then what the management would show him, or say all the documents which he requires, these are not handy yet. The management requires time. So obviously this approach is not proper. He would discuss with the management, and this is relatable to the point like what we had studied, that he can discuss the key elements of, he may discuss the elements of planning with the management so as to facilitate the conduct of audit of the organization, so as to facilitate the conduct of the audit of the entity. Okay, but he has not to disclose those things which might affect the effectiveness of audit, which might compromise the effectiveness of audit. So this is right. So all of you have written correctly. No, like Kirthana, now students, you are saying also to tell how us to write the answers. Okay, I'll tell. But uh, Kirthana, you are writing that every procedure done by auditor needs to be performed to be informed to the management. Now your understanding is okay, but you are writing it in a wrong way. You do not need to use the word every. You need to write that that the auditor has to share with the management. Auditor may share with the management procedures which facilitate the conduct of audit, which ensure easy conduct of audit. So in such case, the approach of CA is not proper. When you are writing about every procedure, then you are saying that you are divulging everything to the management. So it might affect effectiveness of audit. It might compromise effectiveness of audit. Clear, students? So relationship between audit strategy and audit plan. So students, you have to understand that again, these are not necessarily sequential processes. The establishment of audit strategy and audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential processes, but are closely interrelated. Why? Because change in one can lead to change in another. So what does this mean, students? Say, although audit strategy is first established, but later on audit plan is developed. First step is developing audit strategy, but it is not that it would always be the same. Sometimes audit plan can also lead to change in audit strategy. Say sometimes changes in audit plan may require the auditor to change his audit strategy. So although these are sequential processes, they are not necessarily sequential. Clear, guys? Although they are separate, but they are not necessarily separate. They are not necessarily discrete. Clear? Although first audit strategy is established, then plan is developed, but in certain circumstances, it might not happen so. That it could happen that change in audit plan can lead to change in audit strategy. And change in audit strategy can always lead to change in audit plan. So this thing you have to understand, students, that although these processes are separate, audit strategy, audit plan, although these are separate, but they are closely related. Due to their close relationship, these are not necessarily separate or sequential processes. Sequential means coming one after another, like 3 comes after 2, 4 comes after 3. It is, although audit strategy is established first and audit plan is made afterwards, but these are not always sequential. These do not always happen in sequence. Clear, guys? बताइए स्टूडेंट्स, क्लियर है? Yes, students. Now whose responsibility is to prepare audit strategy and audit plan? Now whose responsibility is to prepare audit strategy and audit plan? It is the auditor's responsibility. It is the sole responsibility of auditor. He is doing the audit, so it is his sole responsibility to prepare audit, to establish audit strategy and develop audit plan. And planning, this we have done. I have touched upon this topic already, that planning decisions can be changed during the course of audit. And planning also involves supervision and review of work of engagement team members. This we have already done. And students, you have to note now, this is also important, that auditor has to document overall audit strategy, audit plan, and any significant changes made during the audit strategy or plan and reason for such changes. Usko, he has to write, he has to put in writing in his audit file that this was the audit strategy, this is the audit plan, and subsequently if it has undergone change, then he would state that it has gone under change, it has undergone change and the reasons for changing it, like something new has come to his light, some new information has come to his light, and therefore he is making changes to those audit strategies and audit plans. Okay. So now let us take your queries first, guys. लास्ट के 15 मिनट बचे हैं, तो आपकी क्वेरीज ले लेते हैं। स्टूडेंट्स, अगर आपको कोई चैप्टर 1 में भी क्वेरी है जो आपकी अनरिजॉल्व है, आप भेज सकते हैं। यू आर फ्री टू सेंड, यू आर फ्री टू सेंड स्टूडेंट्स। कोई चैप्टर 1 में आपकी अनरिजॉल्व क्वेरी है, यू कैन सेंड। यस, गुंजन देवी, आप यू आर आस्किंग सिने क्वा नॉन का क्या मतलब है? सिने क्वा नॉन का मतलब है असेंशियल कंडीशन, नेसेसरी कंडीशन। सिने क्वा नॉन का मतलब है असेंशियल कंडीशन। असेंशियल कंडीशन। यस कानन, एस ए 200 है ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ एन इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिटर। आपके मॉड्यूल में फर्स्ट पेज पे लिखा हुआ है। कानन, लगता है आपने क्लास फर्स्ट बार ज्वाइन की है। संगीता, यू आर सेइंग in case engagement and quality control standards are in question paper, we write examples of essay. Yes, this type of questions you are doesn't come, Sangeeta. You are asked about specific things, but you can write examples. Suppose I assume that this question comes, you can write examples. नैन्सी इज सेइंग कि सर प्लीज स्पीड इंक्रीज कर दें। नैन्सी, सब स्टूडेंट्स का ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, और डू नॉट वरी अबाउट योर सिलेबस। बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज ने कुछ सोच के ही लेक्चर्स के डेज अलॉट किए हैं, तो वी वुड बी एबल टू कंप्लीट द सिलेबस इन टाइम। यस आस्था, SA 300 अब तक तो समझ आ गई होगी आपको। SA 300 डील्स विद प्लानिंग एंड ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स। SA मीन स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग। ये हम चैप्टर 1 में कर चुके हैं। आस्था, अगर आपको ऐसे नहीं पता, ऐसे का मीनिंग नहीं पता, तो आप चैप्टर 1 का वीडियो दोबारा देखें और मॉड्यूल में चैप्टर 1 पढ़ें। हर्ष सिंह, व्हाट इज एंगेजिंग टीम मेंबर्स? एंगेजिंग टीम मेंबर्स के साथ डिस्कशन करना। जब ऑडिट करते हैं हर्ष, तो ऑडिट टीम बनती है, तो टीम मेंबर्स जो 3-4 लोग 5 लोग की टीम बनी, उसके उनको एंगेज करना। एंगेज करना मींस डिस्कशन करना उनसे, उनके व्यूज लेना और अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन उनको देना। यस मानसी, आप किस चीज के बारे में रिवीजन की बात कर रही हैं? आप बताइए मानसी, किस चीज की रिवीजन की बात कर रही हैं? प्रियंक के पूछ रहे हैं कि हिंदी मीडियम की बुक्स कब आएंगी। प्रियंक, इसके बारे में आप बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडी से पूछ सकते हैं। रामाचंद्रा, yes, who does audit planning? I hope Ramachandra, you have now got the answer, and your question has by now should have become irrelevant. Anyway, audit planning is conducted by the auditor. So by now you must have understood. Yes, Gaurav. Gaurav is asking what is assertion level? Yes. सो एसर्शन मैंने जो स्टूडेंट्स आपको बताया था ये आप चैप्टर 4 में पढ़ेंगे, लेकिन इस पे मैं थोड़ा सा टच कर देता हूं, आपको बता देता हूं थोड़ा सा। जो कुछ आपको स्टूडेंट्स फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में दिख रहा है ना, बैलेंस ऑफ कैपिटल, सेल्स, पीपीई, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स, ट्रेड पेबल्स, डेप्रिसिएशन, प्रॉफिट, रेवेन्यू, एक्सपेंसेस, दीज आर ऑल असर्शंस। आप इतना समझ लीजिए, दीज आर ऑल असर्शंस। असर्शंस का क्या मतलब है? असर्शन मीन्स टू assert, टू से समथिंग। से अगर किसी बैलेंस शीट में सेल्स इज 5 करोड़, then it means that management is asserting, management is saying that my sales are 5 crores. If the balance in PPA account is 2 crores, then the management is saying that balance in PPA account is 2 crores, and this has been arrived at after reducing depreciation. So assert means to say something, and assertions belong to management. Remember. गौरव आपको क्लियर है? थोड़ा सा हम टच करेंगे खाली। assertions belong to management, इसके बारे में चैप्टर 4 में पूरा टॉपिक है डिटेल में। assertions belong to management, लेकिन ऑडिटर के लिए क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है? क्योंकि ऑडिटर उन assertions को चैलेंज करता है, ऑडिटर्स उन assertions को वेरीफाई करता है कि उसमें मिस स्टेटमेंट्स ढूंढने के लिए, टू फाइंड आउट, टू डिग आउट मिस स्टेटमेंट्स। यस गौरव, क्लियर टू यू? डिटेलिंग इसके बारे में हम चैप्टर 4 में पढ़ेंगे। यस अमित कुमार, यू आर आस्किंग इफ यूज वन सिंगल वर्ड आइदर डिस्टिंक्ट और सेपरेट एट एवरी प्लेस। नो, दैट इज ओके अमित कुमार। डिस्टिंक्ट और सेपरेट, यू कैन यूज एनी वर्ड, you can use, you can write distinct or separate, or you can simply write distinct. इफेक्टिव, संगीता आपको अब ये इसका मीनिंग समझ में आ गया होगा इफेक्टिव का। इफेक्टिव का मीनिंग अब आपको समझ में आ गया होगा। इफेक्टिव मीन्स दैट द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज अचीव्ड, दैट आउटकम ऑफ ऑडिट इज अचीव्ड, only then it will remain effective. Vandana, you are asking engagement period timelines are usually for how many years? वंदना, आपका क्वेश्चन क्लियर नहीं है, क्या पूछना चाह रही हैं आप? एंगेजमेंट पीरियड टाइमलाइंस, एंगेजमेंट पीरियड टाइमलाइंस मतलब एंगेजमेंट पीरियड टाइमलाइन, एंगेजमेंट तो अपनी टाइमलाइन में ही कंप्लीट करनी है। सेम मैंने आपको कंपनी का एग्जांपल दिया था। फॉर हाउ मेनी इयर्स का क्या मतलब है इसमें? यस मीनाक्षी, और ये द रामाचंद्र आर कॉपर हैज आल्सो इस क्वेश्चन कि प्रीलिमिनरी, वेदर व्हेन वी आर परफॉर्मिंग प्रीलिमिनरी एंगेजमेंट एक्टिविटीज, देन ऑडिटर माइट एक्सेप्ट ए क्लाइंट who is of doubtful integrity. This is what you are trying to ask. Both of your intention is this, Meenakshi and Ramachandra are copper. So what happens in such case? So students, you have to remember again that auditor is not expert in everything. We had studied in chapter 1. He is not an expert on everything. What the essays require, these are the responsibilities, general duties which the auditor had to do. Now if while performing those duties, still some mistake is committed, then it can't be helped. Say auditor has made a due diligence, he has inquired from certain persons, but nothing has come to his light. That integrity of honors is doubtful. It is fine enough. But the point is whether he has done that activity or not. That is more important. That is more relevant. That what a reasonable person do in such circumstances, whether he has done all those things. Whether by reasonable means he could have found out. Okay. So clear, Ramachandra and Meenakshi? नाउ आस्था पूछ रही है कि असाइनमेंट जो आपने दी है वो उस असाइनमेंट को हम अगले सेशन में करेंगे आस्था. यू डू नॉट हैव टू सेंड आंसर फॉर दैट. ये संतोष आप पूछ रहे हैं कि अगर ऑडिटर मिस्टेक करे तो वो मैंने इसका आंसर दे चुका हूं पहले ही. Yes, Meenakshi, auditor can withdraw from engagement. Yes, if there are no legal restrictions, if there is no legal bar, then the auditor can withdraw from engagement. He can withdraw anytime if there is no legal bar. Then, or if there is some legal restriction, then he would have to see that he might have to seek legal advice, or he may have to see that how would be how his opinion would be affected, how he would have to modify his opinion. नाउ कुलवंत आप पूछ रहे हैं कि वेटेज क्या है इस चैप्टर के एग्जाम में. वो आपके सिलेबस में दी हुई है वेटेज, बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज के वेबसाइट पे है, वहां पे जाके आप देख सकते हैं. यस मानसी, आपको आंसर इसी मेल पे देने हैं. जो एमसीक्यूज मैंने अपलोड किए हैं वो एमसीक्यूज हम करेंगे. उसको असाइनमेंट में आपने आंसर मेरे को नहीं भेजने हैं, वो हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में असाइनमेंट करेंगे इसको. यस गौरव, यू आर आस्किंग कि ऑडिट बजट इन आवर्स का क्या मतलब है. ऑडिट बजट कितना टाइम डिवोट करना है. क्योंकि ऑडिटर जब ऑडिट प्लान करता है वो आवर्स के हिसाब में, मैन आवर्स के हिसाब में प्लान करता है, मैन डेज के हिसाब में, कि मेरे को इतने मैन डेज लगेंगे. अगर मैं सपोज एक आदमी काम कर रहा है तो 4 दिन के लिए 4 मैन डेज लगेंगे. अगर 4 आदमी काम कर रहे हैं, 4 लोग काम कर रहे हैं 4 दिन में, तो 4 दिन में वो 16 मैन डेज लग गए, या कितने आवर्स लगे तो इतने मैन आवर्स लग गए, ये मतलब है. Yes, Srinivasan, you are asking what is meant by interim audit stage and cut-off dates. Interim audit stage during the any period of financial year, like verifying something at say during the middle of a month or at the end of a month. And cut-off means the date at which books of accounts are closed, 31st March. Okay. Yes, मानसी आप क्वेरीज भेज रहे हो. नाउ दिव्या कुमारी इज आस्किंग कि एक जो चैप्टर 1 में क्वेश्चन था कि एक कंपनी है उसको एग्रीड अपॉन प्रोसीजर्स सीए को कहती है करने के लिए टू वेरीफाई परचेजेस फ्रॉम रिलेटेड पार्टीज. तो ये किस चीज का एग्जांपल है. ये एग्जांपल है स्टैंडर्ड ऑन रिलेटेड सर्विसेज का. व्हाई? क्योंकि एग्रीड अपॉन प्रोसीजर्स में क्लाइंट और प्रैक्टिशनर दोनों के बीच दे हैव एग्रीड, क्लाइंट एंड प्रैक्टिशनर दे हैव एग्रीड that such and such procedures would be adopted by the practitioner. They have already agreed. That is why these are known as agreed upon procedures. So agreed upon procedures and compilation engagements, these are in nature of related services, and standards on related services apply. Clear आपको दिव्या कुमारी? Assertion level already explained. Nature, I have already explained nature of audit procedures. ये स्टूडेंट्स आप पूछ रहे हैं कि आंसर्स कैसे लिखें. आंसर्स आपको कीवर्ड्स एग्जाम में जरूर लिखने हैं. एंड फ्रेम योर ऑनलाइंस. फ्रेम योर ऑनलाइंस जब स्टूडेंट्स आप रिमेंबर करेंगे तो आप इतना आपके पास बैकअप इकट्ठा हो जाएगा अपने माइंड में, दैट यू वुड बी एबल टू फ्रेम योर ऑनलाइंस. जस्ट राइट इन योर ऑनलाइंस विदाउट ओमिटिंग कीवर्ड्स. यस, मैंने पहले ही बता दिया आपको कैसा ये छोटे केस सिनेरियोज में आंसर लिखना है. Yes, Manish Kumar, you are asking written planning is compulsory. Yes, we have just now learned that audit plan and audit strategy has to be documented. It has to be documented. Therefore, written planning is must. The audit has to document the plan and place it in his audit file. Yes, Basav Raju KS, I have already told that audit plan has to be documented. Not only audit plan, audit strategy has also to be documented. और प्रियंका पांडे, आप यू प्रैक्टाइज, आपको आंसर लिखने आ जाएंगे. आप थोड़ी सी पेशेंस रखिए, आपको आंसर लिखने आ जाएंगे. रीतो, इन ऑडिट स्ट्रेटेजी स्कोप विच वाज डिस्कस्ड इज दैट नो, ऑडिट स्ट्रेटेजी में स्कोप अलग है, ऑडिट का स्कोप अलग है. ऑडिट स्ट्रेटेजी में जो स्कोप है दैट डील्स ओनली विद द स्कोप रिलेटिंग टू ऑडिट स्ट्रेटेजी. और जो फर्स्ट चैप्टर में हमने स्कोप पढ़ा था दैट रिलेटेड टू द ऑडिट एज ए होल. ओके, assertion I have already explained. ममता इज सेइंग टेस्ट योर नॉलेज वाला क्वेश्चन 1. कौन सा क्वेश्चन आप कह रहे हैं ममता? विच क्वेश्चन ऑफ विच चैप्टर यू आर सेइंग ममता? सब्सटेंटिव प्रोसीजर्स मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया था, जैसे एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशंस. सब्सटेंटिव प्रोसीजर्स के बारे में राहुल शर्मा, वी वुड बी रीडिंग इन चैप्टर 4 इन डिटेल. तो अगर मैं अब यही बताना शुरू हो जाऊंगा तो चैप्टर 4 भी साथ में स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. आप ये समझ लीजिए कि सब्सटेंटिव ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स उस टाइप के प्रोसीजर्स हैं जिससे कि ऑडिटर सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट एविडेंस गैदर करता है. ठीक है, like he sees the purchase bills, he inspects the purchase bills, he goes through the ledger account, so or he sends confirmation requests to a third party. So these are example of substantive procedures. So it will take 2-3 months. Yes, ममता, स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन रिलेटेड सर्विस ऑफ चैप्टर 1, उसमें ये है, आपको याद रखना है कि जो स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन रिलेटेड सर्विस है उसमें ऑडिटर जो प्रैक्टिशनर है ही डज नॉट गिव एश्योरेंस, ही गिव्स ओनली ए रिपोर्ट, फैक्ट फाइंडिंग रिपोर्ट. मेन पॉइंट उसमें ये है. प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर का मीनिंग नंथिनी, प्रीडिसेसर ऑडिटर मींस प्रीवियस ऑडिटर, द ऑडिटर, one is present auditor and one is predecessor who was before him. Okay. Yes, we have done essay 200 and 300 as in your syllabus. Yes, audit plan should be in written form, बता चुका हूं मैं. एंगेजमेंट लेटर ये है जब ऑडिटर एंगेजमेंट एक्सेप्ट करता है तो इट इज सेंट बाय ऑडिटर टू द क्लाइंट. एंगेजमेंट लेटर के बारे में आप अगले चैप्टर्स में पढ़ेंगे. सब्सटेंटिव प्रोसीजर्स राहुल शर्मा मैंने ऑलरेडी बता दिया है. डिपार्चर मीनिंग है चैप्टर 1 में, से इफ ऑडिटर इज नॉट फॉलोइंग ए some requirement in certain standard, he is deviating, he is moving away, he is not able to perform those procedures, then he would state in his report that this is the departure. Okay. स्टैंडर्ड ऑन रिलेटेड सर्विसेज मैं बता चुका हूं. ये ममता आपकी क्वेरी आंसर कर दी है मैंने. राहुल अगेन मैं बता चुका हूं आपका. रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल में स्टेटमेंट मोहम्मद, इट इज डेल्ट इन SA 315. SA 315. नाउ संजना बहन यू आर आस्किंग कि अगर ऑडिट कंपनी की कई ब्रांचेस हैं तो ऑडिटर के लिए पॉसिबल नहीं है हर एक ब्रांच में विजिट करना. ट्रू. तो ऐसे केस में अगर सपोज कंपनी की 200-300 ब्रांचेस हैं, 500 ब्रांचेस हैं, तो कंपनी जो है ब्रांच ऑडिटर अपॉइंट करती है अलग से. ये स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट, पूजा गुप्ता मीन्स स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट मीन्स audit which is performed, which is legally required, which is legally mandatory, like for companies the audit is legally mandatory, so statutory audit is there. ये सर्वांशु क्या पूछ रहे हैं आप? सर्वांशु बताइए क्या पूछ रहे हैं सर्वांशु. यस, ऑलमोस्ट ऑल क्वेरीज आर डन. सर्वांशु अगर आपकी क्वेरी रह गई तो बताइए आप क्या पूछ रहे हैं. प्लीज टेल क्विकली. यस सर्वांशु, प्लीज टेल क्विकली व्हाट इज योर क्वेरी. यस सर्वांशु. Probably you are asking, can a firm ask for audit report on prescribed time period? Yes, it is the duty of the auditor to give the audit report in time. It is the duty of auditor to give audit report in time. Otherwise, how he would have performed his work professionally? Okay, guys. So that's over for today, guys. So thank you all of you. Thank you all of you for listening. And students, keep patience. You would get good outcomes. You would get good results. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Yes.